Hello.
Hello, is this Gordon Lightfoot?
Yes.
This is Randy Patterson with Boomerocity and Everything Knoxville Magazine in East Tennessee.
I got you.
All right.
How are you?
Where am I reaching you at? Up in Ontario?
Yeah, I'm in Toronto.
All right. Well, I used to go to Toronto on business. Man, beautiful city.
That's interesting.
Your career is about to span 7 decades. I mean, there's very few of your peers that can say anything close to that. And I guess the first question is, do you think this is a career path you want to stick with or not? But in all seriousness, how does that affect you? What do you think of that when you...
Well, I think I better be prepared. I think I had better. I think I had better be prepared, and I stay prepared. And I have a group of people working with me, and they're all prepared. And we're ready to go. We go out 7 times a year. We go on tour 7 times a year.
Wow, that's amazing.
And we do about 10 or 11 shows.
My goodness.
Each time we go out. So at the end of the year, we've done about 80 shows. And we play all over North America. Good.
And you'll be coming here to East Tennessee this, next month sometime in July, towards the end of July in Chattanooga. I hope to see you there.
Yeah, that's indoors. You know, we try to keep things indoors, you know, like in the summer weather.
Yeah.
Although we do festivals. But I've played Chattanooga before. I've played there a couple of times already, and so we'll get back and then pick up the old vibes.
There you go. Have you been to the Songbirds Museum there yet?
No, but maybe I should.
There's a lot of guitars, man. It's guitar porn there, I'll warn you. But it's a fascinating thing. I'm sure they'll give you the VIP tour there if you ask for it. But in your career, you've had to see so many changes. And in your opinion, what are the best and worst changes you've seen in the music business over the years?
That's a question that I cannot answer.
Why?
I cannot answer. It evolves, you know. Sometimes things go into different modes. You know, like country music becomes more rock and roll. You know. That's the best example I can think of. The rest of it just keeps rolling along. You know, it keeps changing. You know, we've got the the hip hop music is out there big time right now. You know, people like to tap their toes and dance to that stuff. So do I.
Good deal. Well, do you think the music business is broken today, or what's your opinion of the music business?
Well, it's ongoing, and if your stuff is good enough, it's going to make it on the radio somewhere.
Yeah.
The cream's going to come to the top of the top. It has to. Like if for instance, take Drake, for instance. Drake is building a house right across the street from me, right?
Wow.
Right now. You know, it's a big thing around Toronto here. Everybody's been going on for about 2.5 years. They've been building over there. I've never met him, but I wanted to know what his record was like. At one point, number 1 on the record chart for 5 weeks. Number 1 on the record chart for 5 weeks, and I said, I wonder what's so special about it, you know. And so I went and bought one, and it was just like a great rap record. You know, there's like the great vocal, the great arrangements, and the great rap. You know, those things.
Well, speaking of new record, you came out with a remastered greatest hits thing, and you're in Canada. They're doing that documentary, or have that documentary out on you, and but no word on when it's coming down here, and I can't wait to see it. But tell me about the record, and what's been the reception on both the record and the documentary so far that you can tell?
Well, okay, the record is from some newly discovered material. which I had forgotten I owned. Really, at that point, I didn't really have enough for another album. But when I found this stuff, just accidentally one day while cleaning out my office, it became apparent that I had enough material available. And it was interesting, too, because it was done just before I had a serious illness. And I was at like full strength. I was playing really strong on guitar, and my vocal was really at a peak at that point. But it was around about the year 2000. And all the stuff was written over a 3-year period there. And I dug it out, and it was so good that I kept it all. And it's able to work on and do some orchestrating, and the stuff sounds great. You know, so that's going to be my 21st album. It's all original material.
My goodness. That's amazing. And the documentary, how do you feel about the documentary? And what can you, since we're here in the States, we can't see it yet. What can you tell us about it?
Well, I'll tell you, my wife and I have watched it together now 4 times. my wife Kim and I have watched it now 4 times, and she's so philosophical about it that I really can't believe it. I got to give her great credit.
Was there anything about it that kind of surprised you?
Well, you know, I consider my personal life to a certain degree, but it mostly it covers the titles. I mean, I have about 25 titles in there, and a lot of photographs of everyone from Elvis Presley right on down. You know, like performing my songs right down to who I really want to talk about, who did Black Day in July. Gordon Downey, who just passed away last year. Gordon Downey I had one called Black Day in July, which got banned way back when. I didn't know, you know, and it did a great version of it.
Wow. Well, you mentioned Elvis, and I loved his cover of Early Morning Rain that they did on the Aloha from Hawaii special. That was amazing.
There's good stuff out there. And I've been working with Johnny Cash, you know, and people like that, and it was fun to have some really up-to-date stuff too. It shows my band the way it is right now. It's a 5-piece band, you know. Everybody's all ready to roll. They're a great bunch of guys. I have about 14 people in my entourage.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
My goodness. Well, what can fans expect on this tour, and especially the Chattanooga stop? What can they look forward to on that?
Well, okay, they're going to get they're going to have a 2-set show with a 20-minute intermission, and each set is about 15 minutes long. If they can sit through that, they're welcome. You know, some of these people, I mean, my goodness, they'll go like for 3 hours up there, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I like to be polite with my audience, and time is one thing that I take very serious. I don't like to work too long. Right.
Well, and even the most avid fan can have a hard time sitting through that long. I know the Experience Hendrix things. Somebody told me.
We give them the best stuff that we got. We give them the best of everything that we've got. We really do. And believe me, they play it well. We've got a great, you know, a good little orchestra here. You know, it's by the time we get to the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, they're starting to get really excited.
Well, you've done a lot, and like you said, you know, your albums. It's your 20th or so album and such. What haven't you done that you want to do as far from a career perspective? What, you know, is there any kind of certain kind of album, certain kind of music, certain kind of, I don't know, some people like to do musicals to their music. Alice Cooper told me that a year or so ago, that, you know, getting his stuff put onto the Broadway stage. Or is there anything, you know, that you haven't done yet that is still on your bucket list to do musically?
It always comes to mind that Springsteen did his Broadway show.
Yeah.
And it's there on Netflix. And I mean, that's a great show. They stay there for an hour. I might do something like that, but, you know, I don't think I could. You got to be Bruce Springsteen to get on Broadway like for a whole year.
Yeah. Well,
he's one of my biggest influences. I love that guy. I love his work. Yeah. Him and Bob Dylan and and quite a few other people too. You know.
Well, speaking of influence,
Leonard Cohen. You know.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So.
I'm working on a book right now, actually two different books, and you just brought up some people that kind of fit into this, and I touched on it once already, and that's Elvis. What are your thoughts about Elvis, and you know, what, especially when he did your music? Did you ever meet him? What was his influence? What are your unique thoughts about Elvis Presley?
Well, they covered that song, "Early Morning Rain," just about better than anybody, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes a whole whopping bunch of people, because I tell you, a lot of people recorded that song. They all did a great job. I like George Hamilton IV doing it best of all.
Ah, cool.
But Elvis, yes, I mean, I almost jumped out of my car when I heard it on the car radio, because that's the first time I knew that even he had done the song, until I heard it one day on my car radio while I was driving down the highway.
Yeah.
I didn't even know about it.
My goodness.
And all of a sudden there it was, and I said, "Oh my goodness, you know, he's done it." You know, I remember I went and bought a guitar when I was 14, when I first started hearing Elvis Presley.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That made you want to play the guitar,
and there it was. There he was.
Wow.
You know, that was about 15 years ago. I just about jumped out of my car. Except I was doing about 75 miles an hour.
Well, I'm glad you didn't jump out. That's what. Did you ever get to meet him?
I came close. Could have. They got away from me in Buffalo. I was supposed to meet him at the backstage at the hockey arena there when they played there, but I didn't make it back in time. They'd left by the time I fought my way back there.
Oh my goodness, that's too bad. That's too bad.
Well, I used to go right after the show. Yeah. Well, he was ready to meet me. We were going to meet, all right, but I just couldn't get back there.
Yeah.
In time, they had to go.
Right. And another question that involves my book is, everybody asks the question, Beatles or the Stones? If they were to ask you that, which one would you pick and why?
Okay, I got to take the Stones, because they're still going at it, and they're playing this weekend right up here near Toronto. They're doing a great big show.
Yep.
They're expecting about 25,000 people up there.
Wow. Up
north of the Rolling Stones. So you got to choose the Stones, because they're still doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So, God, you know, what else can you say? I mean, they're still a band. I mean, they're still doing it.
Yep.
Playing their music. It's amazing.
Yes.
I'm amazed that I am still doing it.
Yeah. And why? Why do you still do it?
Because I'm over 80. You know, you're not supposed to be doing this when you're over 80. So they say, you know, so if they're playing music, they tell me some people play until they're 90. I mean, all you got to do is prime examples: Willie Nelson, Tony Bennett. You know,
mm-hmm.
they're still playing their music. My goodness, they're I'd say they're not getting any younger.
What keeps you doing it?
Because I really love the work. I do, and I feel confident. I like my material. You know, I stay ready to perform.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you always got to be like in a state of readiness. Go out 7 times a year, but those little month-long stretches in between there, you know, they go by pretty quick.
Yeah, they do.
And you got to get back out there again and doing it. And so each one's like its own little trip. And of course, you got to make arrangements too for the work permits and all that stuff all the time. Been doing that for 56 years.
You must have it down to a science now, huh?
I could have moved down to the States if I had wanted to, but it was my songwriting that got me accepted by the industry down there originally.
Yeah.
So it was my songwriting deal that allowed them to petition on my behalf
mm-hmm.
for the work permits.
So I got one more question for you, and then we'll wrap up. You know, I hope you're around for many, many, many more years. And I ask people of your stature in the business this question, so I'm not trying to be macabre or anything. And I'm sure you've been asked this question in different ways a lot over the years. But when the way I put it to people is when you step off the tour bus of life up at the great gig in the sky, to borrow from Pink Floyd, how do you want to be remembered, and what do you hope your legacy is?
My answer is always so simple and so stupid. That I took care of business. That I took care of business. Yeah.
Good deal. Good deal.
Okay.
Well, Gordon, I appreciate this time. I am going to try to get tickets to your show. Maybe if I can, I'll maybe be able to work my way backstage to shake your hand. But more than anything, I want to thank you for both for taking this time, but more importantly, just the great music you've provided, and I've listened to for 40, 50 years now, and it just really means a lot to me. And again, just honored and blown away to be able to talk to you personally, and look forward to seeing you in Chattanooga in a few weeks.
All right, you're Randy Patterson. I know that.
Yep.
Randy Patterson.
Yes, sir.
I'll put you on the backstage list. It'll be in our computer.
Okay, super. I appreciate that, and we'll see you at the Tivoli Theater in Chattanooga then, sir.
That's what we got here, Tivoli Theater.
Yeah, it's a beautiful theater. It's kind of like the old Fox theaters that you see, and it's very ornate. I just saw Peter Frampton there Sunday night, and yeah.
He's a good example. Now, there's a good example of a guy who keeps it together.
Yeah. Well, it's his farewell tour because of that muscle disease he has. But, man, he put it out there, and he did it for about a little over 2 hours. Put on a great show. And
I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah,
I know.
yeah.
I'm familiar with this work.
Well, we're looking forward to a great show by you, Gordon, and look forward to meeting you backstage in about 3 weeks then.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Take care. Have a good evening, sir.